Good afternoon, dear colleagues and friends. Allow me to greet you on behalf of the Directorate-General for Environment of the European Commission. My name is Oktavian Stamate. I work in the unit overseeing the bilateral environmental cooperation with the world, if I may say so. I'm desk officer for Sub-Saharan Africa and for India and Southern Asia. So I have a large portfolio, but so a lot of issues to deal with. But I think one of the most actually challenging for the time being is the one related to the implementation of the newly adopted legislation on deforestation. This is a new type of legislation. It is mainly designed to, it is our contribution towards, addressing the global challenge of deforestation, and it's in line with our commitment taken under Glasgow Declaration to halt and to reverse deforestation and forest degradation. These are actually the objectives of this regulation. The general objective, which is to kind of minimize our contribution to this very detrimental, harmful process that occurs worldwide. I think everybody knows that deforestation, forest degradation are also a driver of for climate change, for biodiversity loss. But there are also a number of more specific objectives. One being to minimize the risk that the EU market become a recipient of products associated with deforestation and forest degradation. On the other hand, we want also to be more positive, and this is more the opportunity that we create through this legislation, that is to generate the deforestation-free supply chain, and to give opportunity, to give the chance to those who are, let's say, out of the deforestation process to access in better conditions the EU market, which is a very lucrative market. Next slide, please. This is a timeline of adoption of the legislation. Most of these stages are already we passed over, but the most important is the last one, which refers to the entry into application. This is the 30th of December 2024, so we are not far from that moment. This will be for the operators, meaning the traders, producers, but not the one that are considered as small or medium enterprises, that those who are able also to access directly the EU market, or those who export directly. So we are not, so for them the deadline is actually June 2025. But once again, it's not about the small and medium enterprises, the small holders who operate through intermediaries, other traders, unless the traders themselves are small and medium enterprises. So we have to understand exactly what is this this June 2025 deadline, which is a bit more generous, allow more time. Next slide, please. Let's see how the regulation works. Most of you are already familiar. Basically, it's a due diligence obligation for the operators that place the relevant products on the EU market or export them from the EU markets. In essence, only the products that are deforestation-free and legal would be allowed on or exported from the EU market. So they have to be covered by this due diligence statement. What does it mean deforestation free? What does it mean forest degradation? We have some internationally backed definitions. we do not invent this. We did not invent this. There are already work done internationally on this. The main obligation, as I explained a moment ago, apply to operators and non small and medium enterprises, traders. Uh, the, the most important thing is that the operator needs to ensure a strict traceability. That is to demonstrate the link between the commodity and the plot of land where it was produced. And of course, this the easiest and the most cost-effective way is to use geolocation coordinates. But in addition to that, in addition to the ability to trace the origin of the product, there is also the issue of legality. Okay, these products needs to be legal. So if you steal or you do illegal logging without causing deforestation, you still want to put it on the market, it's not possible because this is not it is not legal. The product will not come from will not be legally produced. So there are here two conditions in fact. One relates strict to deforestation, the other one legality. Next slide, please. What is the scope of application of this regulation? You have a number of commodities, selected commodities. There are 7 of them, but also the derived products. Therefore, for instance, we have also the printed products. We have the furniture comes from the wood. Otherwise, the main are very well known. It's palm soil, soy, wood, cattle, cocoa, coffee, rubber. This is not one can imagine is not an arbitrary selection. It's based on scientific data, because these products, their say production of these specific commodities contributes the most to deforestation globally. So therefore, they are on the list. I should stress here that we do not discriminate against the flux, the trade flux, because the regulation applies both to domestically produced commodities, that is products that commodities that we produce in Europe and we want to export abroad. So you cannot export if if they are they cause deforestation or forest degradation. You cannot put them on the EU market. You cannot place them on the EU market, as you cannot place on the EU market commodities imported that is coming from an area subject to deforestation or forest degradation. Of course, this scope is not fixed. It will evolve over time because you know, it depends how the situation evolves. So there will be a regular update. The cutoff date is when one would assess whether the products come from deforested area or forest degraded forest is the 31st of December 2020. So we are looking at what happened after this date in that particular forest area, not before that, because of course we want to minimize disruption for smallholders and also to facilitate the satellite monitoring. Next slide, please. Now we are at the stage where, of course, our focus on how to best prepare the implementation phase. Actually, it's implementation phase to prepare the moment when it will enter into application, and my colleagues from the unit which is directly in charge with implementation of this regulation are working now very hard to produce a variety of tools that are made available to the operators, to those who are concerned by the application of this regulation. First of all, we have created large number of, I mean, a frequent asked question. This is a document which is trying to clarify most of the operational questions, so very technical, very practical, how you do this, how you do that. There are also a number of technical legal matters which will be covered soon by guiding documents. This is to be released, I think, this month. We are setting up the IT system because everything will be, of course, online, and all this due diligence statement will have to be uploaded. But we have also supporting tools to a number of producer countries, which are the most impacted by the regulation, where the impact is the greatest. And we have, of course, some additional complementary tools which help us to monitor the impact and what will happen after the entry into application, meaning the deforestation observatory and also the risk benchmarking, which I will explain a little bit later. Next slide, please. I mentioned first the frequently asked question. This is the most, let's say, common tool, the one that is probably the most accessed, used by our interlocutors. It was first published in June already in last year, was updated in December, and there will be a new version coming up very soon with new 30 new FAQs. As I said, this document is intended to address key aspects of implementation for operator and traders and for competent authorities in the member states, because those we will actually monitor and enforce this legislation in the EU are the relevant authorities of the member states, because access to the EU market and also the monitoring and supervision of what is happening on the EU market is the competence of the member states and their relevant authorities. Next slide, please. I also said something about the guidance documents, and they are in the pipeline. They will cover selected thematic areas, as you can see here in this slide, about what is the definition of what is agriculture use, what is legality, how to deal with composite products, certification, due diligence. All these technical matters will be addressed thoroughly in these guidance documents. Once again, I think that if I'm not mistaken, this month in May, this will become public and will be published online. Next slide, please. We have the information system, the IT system, how to operate, because as I said, everything will be put online. There was a pilot phase when some 100 companies were, invited to participate, try to see how it works for them, how to operate the system. There will be more trainings later this year. And user registration will open in November, so a month before the deadline for the entry into application. And the opening will be sometime mid-December. Of course, there will be interconnection with other systems available. Please, next slide. Another important tool is the EU Observatory on Deforestation. This is a map, basically developed by the Joint Research Center of the European Union. It is online, and it is a map of deforestation, basically. It's a global forest cover map for year 2020, and then this is the tool that we use to monitor what is happening and to assess what will be the actual impact after the entry into application. The preliminary global forest type map will be available in the second quarter of this year. It's a very important tool which will give us a clear picture of whether we succeed with this legislation, or we will have to adjust it and in order to be more effective. Thank you. Next slide, please. One important operation will be the benchmarking. The benchmark is basically a tool designed to help competent authorities in the EU member states to focus their enforcement resources, because we will classify the countries, and for some there will be more control, for other less. Essentially, this is all about. But of course, the methodology for the benchmarking is ongoing. The development of the methodology it's a sensitive issue. Anyway, we try to base our assessment on objective factors, very solid, and we foresee a very transparent process, because the implications are quite significant, whether a country is qualified as risk, non-risk, and so on. Next slide, please. Of course, that we cannot envisage success unless we cooperate thoroughly with, effectively, better to say, with third countries. We try to cooperate with both producing and consumer countries. We have already engagement with major consumer countries. We held a technical mission. There were some technical missions in Latin America, but most importantly, the Commissioner for Environment, EU Commissioner for Environment, traveled not so long time ago, basically in March, to 3 countries in Latin America, and also visited 3 countries in Africa. This happened about a month ago, to explain the legislation and to see what are the challenges, and to try to figure out together with our partners what are the best tools and how to support more their efforts for compliance. Besides that, we are also ensuring an active outreach to stakeholders. We have a dedicated outreach project for partners on other continents. And we also hold regular briefings in multilateral fora. Next slide, please. Very important for our interaction and exchange of information, and disseminating additional explanations for the benefit of the operators, more than for its stakeholders, meaning also authorities. We have a platform which is called Deforestation Multi-Stakeholders Platforms, to which are invited producers and consumer countries. Includes key sectoral associations, civil society organization, and the work is basically focused on implementation aspects, in particular traceability, and also the kind of assistance that we need to provide to the smallholders. It's a place where you share best practices, and also you learn about cooperation initiatives and opportunities. The last meeting was on the 21st of April. There will be another one on the 26th of June. This is open for participants, including from Ethiopia. This is something that we have made available for our partners in general, not only in Europe. So whoever is interested can register on this platform and participate in the meetings and share concerns, ask questions, receive, of course, appropriate reply. So this is something that we tried more or less to make available to our partners from Africa. There have been a number of discussions over the past month with embassies of countries from Africa, embassies in Brussels. Give extensive explanation, but also we invited them to be part of this platform. And I think Ethiopia is already there. The next slide, please. We have also a number of initiatives, special initiatives. They are either funded, supported by the European Union exclusively, but most of the time we work in the so-called Global Team Europe initiatives, meaning European Union and member states. There is generous funding, and they are, of course, this can be accessed normally through the delegation, EU delegation in the member states. So if someone is interested, you should contact the delegation and ask, what do you have for us? What you can offer to us? One very important is this sustainable cocoa initiative. This is only for 3 countries in Africa. Ethiopia is not one of them. But there are others in other parts of the world. We have a regional program in East Africa and other things. So we are trying to create more opportunities, and there will be certainly more of these programs, initiatives put in place over the next period of time. Next slide, please. This is the end. I would like to say a few words before I conclude. We have had a number of discussions over the past month with Ethiopia. We have received a letter from the Ethiopian authorities raising a number of issues. Specifically from the Ministry of Agriculture, and we provided a reply not so long time ago, actually a few days ago, an official reply. Basically, we reiterated our commitment to facilitate the implementation of the regulation and to support all relevant stakeholders. We explain what we are currently doing with those tools which I have already presented just a moment ago. And we also explained that we are involved in cooperation programs with governments and stakeholders in key countries about the team initiatives, and the main focus, especially in Africa, will be, of course, on the inclusion of smallholders in the transition towards deforestation-free value chains. And we reiterated our willingness to consider specific options adapted to the Ethiopian context and to provide expertise on traceability, notably, through the Team Europe initiative in the coming months. So this is a specific promise made to Ethiopia. We have been also doing something like raising awareness in supply chains of critical Ethiopian commodities, coffee, leather, textile industries, so that people who are not taken by surprise when the implementation, when the application of the regulation will kick in. We work with the EU member state to fund the initiatives, so to find money to be able to give some specific support, concrete support. And we are working now with the Ethiopian Coffee and Tea authorities and the Ethiopian Ministry of Finance to restructure the EU Cafe project. Of course, it's clear that there is need for time. However, we see progress. Still, we see encouraging progress on the ground, and things started to move. They are moving, at increasing speed. We see that once people are aware, they start to mobilize, and we see definite progress on the ground, and intensive work ongoing. Not only in Ethiopia, it's in many countries in Africa which are concerned. I speak most about Africa in particular because I covered this file. In any case, we are committed to help. And What I would like to say that besides the challenge of implementation of this regulation, there is a great opportunity to be part of a sustainable supply chain of major commodities which have an increasing market and in this world. We adopt this legislation to create, to address a global challenge, which is deforestation, which is the driver for climate change, for biodiversity loss. We want to be part of the solution by giving an answer to the challenge, but also giving more opportunity for those who are on the right side of this process to access and to become actors on a market that is very lucrative, the EU market for these commodities which are covered by the regulation, but in a sustainable way. It is our belief that sooner or later the sustainable supply chain will become dominant in the world. So sooner one will adapt to this process better and with more benefit in term commercial in terms of trade. So these are my few remarks regarding the EU deforestation regulation and the impact in Ethiopia. I would like to say that just a few days ago, a colleague of mine who is directly in charge with the regulation visited the Ethiopian embassy and had a very extensive conversation with the members of the embassy who are in charge with this file there. So we are open, we continue to work, and we are quite confident that in the end there will be no significant disruption, and we will be able to move to a sustainable path on this on the imports of the still a large number of commodities from Ethiopia. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this very in-depth insight into the regulation, the background and technical aspects, as well as policy considerations. And the floor is open for questions, discussions, remarks, whatsoever. Who is first? Otherwise, I have a more kind of a legal, but also policy question. You mentioned that one aspect of the criteria for eligible products is legality of the respective product. As far as I understand it, that, however, concerns the product and not the question of legality or illegality of the deforestation in the background, so to speak, as such. Reason for my question, there are regions in the world where there is legal deforestation under the domestic law of respective country for developing purposes or whatsoever. And that, it seems to me, but please correct me, is not taken into account by the regulation so far. How do we deal with that in a situation where we had legal deforestation after the respective deadline under the domestic law of the respective country?
Well, when I highlighted the criteria of legality, I was thinking of a situation where you can produce a certain commodity without deforestation, but breaking simply in violation of the local domestic law. You can take something from the forest without degrading the forest in very short, very simple way to put it. That's not okay. So the regulation will prevent placing of such product on the market. And of course, this applies to the export from the EU, where deforestation is happening. There are instances, but there are also instances of illegal logging and these kind of very harmful activities. So there is the regulation set two conditions, establish two conditions, because, as I said, the deforestation is one process, but the legality of exploiting, if I may say so, the natural capital is a different issue. So there is a need for compliance with the domestic law, and when you produce a certain commodity, but there is also a requirement to not to degrade the forest or to destroy the forest. So this is the explanation in very simple terms. I see that I keep receiving questions on the
Yes, please.
here in the chat box.
Please just refer to them, and if you're willing, answer them. Makes it easier. Yeah, but we need to a short repeating of the question for the audience here.
Yeah, the problem is, actually, I find it very difficult to read them. I would rather take them in written and try to provide a reply later after our event in written. Also, I need to, for some of them, I need to consult with my colleagues which are directly in charge, because I'm not directly in charge. I oversee the bilateral cooperation with the African countries, but not only on the EUDR, not specifically on EUDR. So they are more familiar with these technicalities of the implementation. Some questions are going in that direction, then I don't want to give information that is maybe not so complete or exact. So I would rather take them and then come back coming days to you with a more thorough explanation.
So I ask in the room again, comments on the presentation, please. This is the unique chance to discuss the issue with the representative from the Commission. Please, yes, just stand up, please. Can you go there, and that would be helpful.
So thank you very much. I'm Abinet. I'm working in.
Can you just make sure that the microphone is next to you?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm Abinet. I'm working as a trade policy advisor in GIZ, the African Continental Free Trade Area. So maybe I want to also reflect a bit. So, I mean, coffee is special for us, for Ethiopians. So despite the fact that, we recently, the data shows we have like 17% of the global coffee trade is by Ethiopia. And we are also on the top 10 exporters of coffee in the world. And we also produce the special type of coffee, which is Arabica, which also makes us special. Despite this, and we also consume a lot, by the way. So despite this, in terms of the EUDR, I observed there's a awareness gap, like what maybe the government and some stakeholders might have information on EUDR, but the most important stakeholder, which is the private sector, doesn't have the information, full information about what's EUDR. What is it like? Is it like EU banning the Ethiopian coffee getting into the EU? Or is it a restriction on the developing country not to, get into the EU market? There's a lot of, information going on the private sector, and everybody in the private sector is not also like aware of what this rule is. So maybe it's something that I want to reflect today, that there's this gap. And maybe it's also a question maybe for the panel. What is the EU measure on giving sensitivity for developing countries in terms of this rule? Like every country, for example, Brazil and Ethiopia might not really have the same technological advancement, the same information, and the same economic development to handle this rule. It has its own aspect of in terms of technology, for example. So is there maybe any measure, maybe EU's planning to adjust in this topic? Otherwise, it might affect the trade relationship and also political relationship between EU and also Ethiopia. And maybe for partners like GIZ, my office, and EU, what I want to reflect is also like this might be also intervention area to give the technical support for Ethiopia or developing countries on capacitating them, and also to make them competitive with other developed countries. For sure, other developed countries, they have gone through some steps already, and Ethiopia is not even aware of the EUDR, what it means for the country. So I want to reflect on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Challenging questions. Yes, please, Oktavian.
Well, there are several points here regarding the awareness. I would agree that we need to do more to raise awareness, but we are doing. We are already doing, and we have already managed to, let's say, bring more of our partners up to speed regarding the developments on this. I mean, on developments regarding this legislation. We have frequent contacts with embassies, with operators, with traders, many African, few African countries which are more impacted by the legislation, including Ethiopia. Recently, as I explained, we have had a number of exchanges at different levels, and we will do more in the second half of the year as the deadline for the inter-application approaches. I would like to say that there is absolutely no intention to block or to even to create obstacles to the bilateral trade with these commodities. I would also like to recall again the notion of non-discrimination. The requirements apply not only to the products that are to be placed on the EU market, but what is produced in the EU for the world market. Okay, so it's absolutely the same. Our producers will be under the same level of obligation. It is true that there is a gap in terms of capacity. Therefore, we work, let's say, around the clock to develop a number of tools to bridge this gap, to offer clear information, to give more explanations, and to also to clarify some of the aspects which are sometimes extremely technical, and people just don't know where to start. And we try to address this particular challenge, but we also developed a number of projects and initiatives on the ground in the respective countries to to build capacity and also make available technical support. I know that it is just at the beginning, and there is a sense of that we are running late and we are not, but we are, as I said, we are running around the clock to bridge this gap. And I think the result of our efforts will become even more obvious towards the end of the year, in the second half of the year, when we will have already available all the documents, all the guidelines, as I explained. Now, very soon, they will come up with the package of new guidelines, and they will become available to the even to the smallholders, to which we will pay special attention, and there will be dedicated support for the smallholders, which are, of course, the key, which is the case, of course, in Ethiopia, not only Ethiopia. Kenya is in the same situation. Of course, we work now. At the beginning, we started to work, and we are, I think, in a satisfactory level with Cote d'Ivoire, with Ghana, because they are major suppliers to the EU market. They have a big share on the EU market. So for us, of course, normally, if you prioritize the kind of support and the engagement, you have to look who is on the top, in order not to disrupt the bilateral trade. As I explained, we by no means we want to disrupt. There is no way. We don't want. What we want is to create sustainable supply chain, to change the nature of this trade, not to be detrimental, to be a trade that is in agreement with our global environmental goals. Understand? This is it's very difficult sometimes, but we need to do something to strike a right balance, not to allow things to happen as before. Europe is a continent affected massively by deforestation. We had deforestation in the past. We know what are the consequences, and now we see globally the consequences of deforestation, which will affect all of us eventually. For small gain short-term small gain, then we will have a major negative impact. So we try to prevent this. That's the only thing. It's not easy. I agree. There is still a gap, but we are working on it, and we are already achieving the results. We hope for more in the near future. That's it.
Thank you very much. We have a hand raised by Bettina Rudloff, please. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted maybe to share an experience I made discussing a lot with as well European companies. So that ones who in the end are running the responsibility along the value chains or deciding to import from a certain country like Ethiopia or not. And because the colleague from the GIZ just said it's so complicated and it's not really clear what are the duties. And that's a shared problem, at least as expressed as well from the European or German operators too. How they feel maybe not the largest one, but all the medium-sized and smaller ones as well here in the markets as well feel deficits in knowledge and in information. So that's maybe an issue at both sides, let's say, of the value chain. And just to give an example, in Germany, there exists the help desk economics and human rights. It's not for deforestation, but for human rights. But there the idea is from the German government, to support operators here to understand how really to fulfill these duties, and an overarching principle for all of these due diligence approaches, which is difficult in the end to prove or to support, is stay and behave. So the issue is that operators here are not saying, oh, it's all too complicated to deliver again or to import again, for instance, coffee from Ethiopia, so we better go to another place. Actually, politically, that's not the aim. So I'm not from the political area, but that's in the text as well, explicitly mentioned. However, that's of course difficult to ensure. I just wanted to add that maybe really as well the actors at the importing side here feel the same issue and challenge of not being so much informed. And a specific problem is for the so-called bulk commodities, which is coffee. So maybe it's a bit easier for larger products where you can more easily separate value chains, which in the end could be a result. And that's an issue for coffee, for tea, and for soy, that somehow, if you have different export markets, you need to separate the value chains in order to fulfill the European duty and maybe a different US duty and again different Chinese duty. And in the end, that raises costs. So that's really an issue, and again, a plea for a sound evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very important point. Oktavian, any comment on that, please?
I don't have much to comment because I think that Bettina explained quite well the risk to have separate supply chains building. But first, I think that for many of the exporters of these commodities, EU is still the most lucrative market. We are a main market, so we are a trendsetter. So and also the notion of global commitment. We have global commitment. It's not only us. We are the first to do maybe something. We are the first to move on the right direction with some cost, additional cost. And by the way, if there are some additional costs for the exporters, to the EU market, anyway, they will be reflected in the prices that we pay here in Europe. So this is something that we assume, and of course we take this risk. But there is also the notion that someone must have to make the first step. And once again, giving opportunities to those who are compliant to benefit from a bigger share on the EU most lucrative market. That is a definite consequence, result of this, of the adoption of this legislation. And the feedback that we receive from you know, suppliers of these commodities covered by the regulation around the world is mixed. There is criticism on one side, there is complaint, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging. But others say, oh, we see definitely the opportunity, we have resources, or if we don't have, we will find them, or we will help us to get the necessary assistance, and then we will have a bigger opportunity for us. So this is where we are. We will see. There is, you know, a lot of work ahead, and we still need to see what will be the impact and to adjust our approach accordingly.
Thank you very much. There is a question from the online audience. I was wondering, Mr. Bertling, or how will you put
Well,
provoking? Oktavian, you said something on that already, maybe just a few words.
I think that the regulation is definitely not in contradiction with climate treaties, because if you fight deforestation, you fight a major driver to climate greenhouse gases, biodiversity loss. These are major drivers for climate change. So actually, we try to help deal with climate change, to mitigate climate change, I think, rather than be in contradiction with the treaties. Otherwise, regarding the extraterritorial, I will take these questions and I will try to give you a more technical reply. I don't believe so. Of course, that I'm also a lawyer by background, and you know, you can argue in many ways. But no, we don't think that it is the case, and I will take this question and try to provide a more specific reply to this.
Okay.
Specific point, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's one more question here in the audience. Please, can you stand up and go there? That will be great.
Thank you very much. My name is Gazat. I have a presentation after this from Ethiopian Coffee Association. My sister from GIZ, I'm commenting on the way. The awareness program on the Ethiopian side, the exporters or producers, is not that much a big thing. To me, the awareness program for the last 1 year has taken place perfectly. The awareness program, which I can throw it to, is to EU. Even on the program, the mission to visit Latin America and even Ghana, Uganda, Cote d'Ivoire, you didn't mention Ethiopia. I'm really surprised because 20% of the coffee producers are Ethiopians, because 5 to 6 million coffee farmers out of the world is 25 to 30 million. So, and it is unique by its nature. So many smallholders, the value chain is very long, the intervention is too much. So your close attention is important. The issue, this deforestation-free and afforestation support program, it is really golden program. I support this. That's the way we can accomplish, should be, I think, a little bit checked. I will add upon it on my presentation. But please, how is your the mission, the trade mission program? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oktavian, please.
Well, I understand the question is why would the Commission didn't go to Ethiopia, basically. This is the question. Well, I must tell you that the choice of the countries for this visit was a result of a combination of criteria. But when it comes to, for instance, to Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, they were the beneficiaries of the largest support in so far. With Ethiopia, we have just started, and we will develop cooperation dedicated, as we indicated in the letter sent few days ago. And as we put in place this specific assistance, then there will be strong argument to make also a visit and to come and to be in much closer contact with Ethiopia. I expect in the second half of the year, as I said, it's not only Ethiopia. We have reached out recently to Kenya. After Kenya, they also have a lot of smallholders. As we said, we started with those who have a dominant share on the EU market on at least one commodity. So there is actually a natural prioritization, inevitable. So, but as we advance with the preparations for implementation, then we will go and we will enhance our interaction and move to even stronger engagement with the countries which are also very important, for which the export of these commodities towards EU is very important. This is not only important your market share in the EU. Maybe it's not as big as others, the market share, but for you it's very important. So I really understand that. I know what is the problem. And even my participation in this event, which is more of an academic research nature, is a testimony to the fact that we try to expand this conversation with the country which is impacted by the regulations. And once again, it's not only Ethiopia. We have other countries. We started to work recently, and we are bringing them up to speed right now. So be assured that another visit in Africa very likely will not skip this time Ethiopia.
Thank you very much. We have one more question in the chat, and then I would close. I look at the round here. Is there any other question from the group here? Okay, then we take the one in the chat, and then we move on with the final presentation. Mr. Badling. Okay, goes along the same lines a bit. Please.
Yeah, regarding the projects for renewable energy, I don't know whether the EU delegation has something in the cooperation portfolio. It seems to me, I don't know by heart, but one can inquire directly with them. We have a delegation, it's an embassy of the European Union in Addis Ababa, and they will provide information regarding this. They will now in the process of restructuring or adapting their portfolio of cooperation projects precisely in order to provide more support for compliance with the EUDR. It's a process undergoing. So I don't know for sure, but once again, this information should be available with the delegation.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Oktavian, for this very interesting, challenging presentation, and also, of course, for answering challenging questions. It was very helpful, I guess, for the conference and for the audience here and online. Thank you very much again. All the best to Brussels. And
Thank you very much, and And I hope to see you again. I hope to see our friends from Ethiopia there in Addis Ababa, and to be able to develop, expand our conversation, and to provide more effective support for their efforts to comply with the regulation.